Maybe 100, 200 miles.
Good evening. Welcome to the Vergne Board of Zoning Appeals, September 29, 2020, regular meeting, 5:30 p.m. I call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. All five members are here. The first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the August 25th meeting. Have all board members have a chance to review the minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the minute. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the minutes are approved as presented. The next order of business is new business. Request for a sign variance, property located at 500 Walden Road, Group A, parcels 2 and 1.01, Highway Service Zoning District. Property is owned by Racetracks Petroleum Incorporated. Mr. Logan, may we have the report, please?
Thank you. This sign request is for a new gas station that's going to be built at Howell Quaker and Walden Road. The address is 500 Walden Road. And this is Racetrack. And Racetrack was approved by the Planning Commission about 11 months ago. And you can see in the overhead photo. So there's a couple buildings that are there today on this site, and it's actually two parcels. And in order for the racetrack to be built, these would be demolished. And I'm not exactly what the timeline is on that, but I think I had heard that maybe after the first of the year coming up, they would begin that process of demolition. And so this is zoomed out. This is the property here at the corner of Howell Quaker and Walden Road. And so this is I-24 running from Nashville to Murfreesboro. And it is zone C2, so it's commercial zoning. And these are actual elevations that were submitted back for the Planning Commission. And these were approved by the Planning Commission. So you can see this F1 and F2, and there's an A2 up above. So those are referring to individual signs and some photos of the property. There's a strip retail center there now. There's an insurance office in the building, and I think a convenience store type business. And then Fastenal is also on the site. And there's another view of the larger building that would be demolished. So they've provided this, it's basically an overhead or plan view that shows the entire site with all the signs. So Waldron is here, and this is the traffic signal at Howell Quaker. So the proposed retail building would be in this location, and then you can see they have a key here that shows all of the signs, and I think there's 12 in this key at the upper right of the image. So they are serving quite an array of motorists. They have room in the back, and they're planning a facility to serve heavy trucks and semis, and then they'll have automobile traffic in the front. So some of the signs you'll see are related to the truck scales in the back of the property or the rear of the property. They've also shown the last two are warning signs. And so I'll move on here to some of these slides. So this is the main racetrack sign that they've submitted. So you can see these are roughly 12 feet long, and these are what would actually go on the building. So they're the wall signs. And then they have some specific product signage. Their frozen yogurt is, the sign they're showing here is for frozen yogurt. And then they have a pizza sign, which is F1 and F2. So if you go back then to that overhead view of the whole site, you can see F1 and F2 are facing the diesel side of the property. And then the frozen yogurt sign is E, which would be facing Waldron Road. So they have the food signs on separate sides of the building, different sides. The next signage that they're showing is the fuel canopy signage. So you see this stripe here is the left elevation of the canopy, and then the other side is showing what the right side of the canopy would look like. And then the front elevation of the canopy has the same red and white stripe, and then it has the actual racetrack sign in the middle of the canopy, which I'm pointing to. And then the rear elevation of the canopy basically matches the front, except the rear does not say racetrack. So they've included the canopy signage as well in the package. Again, here's the racetrack logo. This is one of their LED signs that would go on the canopy. So it would be LED. And then the next on page 11 of your packet is the fuel signage. So this is a monument sign, and it's showing a brick base and then the digital signage above it to show the price of fuel. And they can change that easily with it being digital. So that's the front view, and then this is the side view beside it. You can see the brick there. So that is also part of their sign package. And then this diagram shows the actual truck scales, or the signage for the truck scales. So you can see, it shows the drivers where to enter, and then on the opposite side, the rear view, it just says do not enter on that side of the sign. Let's see, I believe that rounds out their sign request for this package. Of course, the current ordinance allows one wall sign up to 100 square feet. And then property owners that have more than one road frontage can request an additional wall sign. So in this case, it is a corner lot, so they could have a sign that faces Waldron and then can ask the BOZA for a second sign that would face Howell Quaker. See, I believe in total, it's about 9 signs total. That may not include the warning signs. And the truck scale sign's 107 square feet. And the 5 wall signs total 126 square feet. And then the 2 canopy logos are 110 square feet. And then the ground sign is also 100 square feet. And there's been a sign on the property, and staff has not received any phone calls. So that completes the report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a representative here tonight? Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Victor Sudapaha, Racetrack Petroleum, Atlanta, Georgia.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You heard the report. Do you have any comments to make, any additions?
No, sir. Mr. Logan and the city's been great to work with. We're excited to be here. I know Mr. Logan mentioned us trying what the time duration is to come in. We're getting the last tenant out in early November, so we should turn over to construction. It takes about a month and a half to bid it out, so we should probably be starting construction in early January.
You can probably notice by our book of requirements that Laverne is pretty tight on signs. So I noticed that you have quite a few signs there.
Yes, sir, and a lot of the signs is because it's not a regular gas stations, it's a truck stop. And a lot of those signs, if you see the F1, F2, it's just a really small signs in the back that shows the pizza sign. And then in the rear, it's also the truck scale. So essentially, we're just looking at really the big yogurt sign in the front. And then the monument sign, we're not asking it for to be a bigger sign, just to be a little bit taller. I think 10 feet is the maximum, we're just wanting 13 feet. I think 100 square feet is the maximum. So a lot of those is just small increase because of it's not a typical 2-3 acre site, it's a 7-8 acre site. So a lot of that signage is in the rear. It's almost like two sites.
Any board members have questions?
I do, Mr. Chairman, and it's a tremendous amount of signs, tremendous amount of signs. I'm understanding the back of the property for the trucks, I understand that. The one problem I do have, A3, which is the rear of the property, which is a racetrack sign. If you're already pulled down Walden Road, you've seen racetrack, you know where you're heading to. Then you turn left, and then if the truck driver's coming around, he's going to see the scale sign, the racetrack sign. So I don't think A3 is really needed. I understand the front of the building and an eligible one on the side because you're on a two-sided lane road, or the two roads. But A3 I don't think is necessary. I just think it's a little bit over the top, or it is over the top as far as I'm concerned.
Any questions on any of the other signs?
So the applicant, just going back to the tower signs, explain the height that you're going through on the tower signs. What height are you going to go with?
On the N2?
A2, A3.
So A3 is, so you had mentioned A3 in the rear. It's for like, there's a rear entrance for truckers to come through. And so we want to make sure they know that it's racetrack. So usually, if they're coming through the front, we have the main racetrack logo sign. But with this being a travel center and with customers entering from the rear, we just want to put our logo in the rear just to make sure that they know that it's racetrack. And then did you mention the monument sign? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
The N1? So that sign is only the maximum height is 10 feet. We just wanted to be a little bit taller because of the utilities around there. So it's just going to 13 feet. It's not any bigger. It's just a variance on the height from I think 10 to is it 13? We're just making it a little taller, 3 foot taller.
When you say utilities, which utilities?
Well, there's utility poles. There's also stuff that's going to be in the right of way near it's just for our patrons to see the sign. Is because the pole sign in the front, we could do 2 pole signs if we wanted to, but we wanted to do a monument sign on the side. So the pole signs we're allowed to have to be 30 feet, right? So we just want a little taller monument sign since we're doing a monument sign. So they can see it because our landscaping is about 3 feet in height, but we just want to make sure that they can see the LED labels on above the bushes or the shrubs that's out there, because there's going to be landscaping in that area.
Any other questions?
No, that's my question. No.
Any other questions, board members?
How tall does the sign start with?
The monument sign
Yeah.
is 10 feet is the height, but we're just asking for an extra 3 feet for the base. The cabinet's going to be the same area. It's just we want an extra height for the base to make sure that we can see the sign above the shrubs and the plantings that's going to be out there in the right of way, near the right of way. So it's going to be 13 feet high. If we were to do a pole sign, we would be allowed to have, I believe, a 40-foot high sign if we were to do a pole sign. So that's why we're just going to do a monument sign. We didn't think a pole sign was needed on the side road, so that's why we're doing a monument sign. I think it'll look a lot nicer. We just want to make sure that it's tall enough to where patrons can see it or people driving in their car can actually see it above the shrub that's going to be out there, the landscaping that's going to be out there.
Any other questions? We'll entertain a motion at this time.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the package as submitted except for A3.
A3.
That's the one at the rear of the property.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, and the reason that we're not going to, you're not accepting A3 is because it's not needed, because it's at the rear of the property, and it's already been able to be determined that it's a racetrack facility without having that sign. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That it is approved except for that sign.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next order of business is a special exception to allow the warehouse property located at 165 Stone River Road. This is a Highway Service Zoning District, property owned by Pool and Spa Depot. May we have the report, Mr. Logan?
Thank you. This applicant is requesting a special exception tonight from the board to allow for the operation and construction of a warehouse. This is Pool and Spa Depot, and they're currently located at 165 Stones River Road. You can see the overhead here outlined in the turquoise color is the existing facility. This is Stones River Road here, and then the railroad track. This is their current building that you can see when you drive by there on Stones River Road. So this grassy area that's seen here in the image is where they are proposing to build a 50,000 square foot facility that would be new, and that's actually on the agenda tonight at the Planning Commission following this meeting. This property is zoned C2. As you can see here in the red color. And some of the photos here, so this is from roughly the railroad track looking back toward Murfreesboro Road, and this is the open area grass that is the site where they're proposing the new building to go. And here's another photo. So this is the building you're probably most familiar with, the yellow, looks like almost a house. And then this is the black iron fence, decorative fencing that's currently along Stones River Road. And again, you can see this large open area that's just grass right now, which would become the new building if it gets approved.
Is that grassy area, Mr. Logan, is that where they used to dump the concrete? Is that where that concrete bottom was?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct, sir. Thanks. I've been lightening some of these photos, so I'm seeing which ones work the best here. So this is the actual site plan, and it's the same that the planning commissioners have in their packets after this meeting, but essentially it shows you the site and what they're proposing. So the building would be 50,000 square feet, and they have 10,000 square feet slated for retail space and about 40,000 of it for inventory storage. And so you remember 2 weeks ago at the workshop, well, you all were not at the workshop, but I was telling the planning commission at the workshop that the special exception listed in the zoning ordinance under C2 allows for limited manufacturing and warehousing under the C2, and that's listed as a special exception that an applicant may request from this board. So with the size of the facility, and the inventory storage, it certainly seemed to fit the criteria for warehouse. Staff's decision was that it'd be best to bring it to BOZA and let BOZA review it and decide if the special exception would apply in this situation. So that's how it got to be on the BOZA agenda and why we're here tonight. If there's anything else to say, that's just a zoomed in shot of the floor plan or the site plan. There has been a property on the sign for a while now, and staff has not received any phone calls about the special exception. So that completes the report. Thank you.
Is there a representative here tonight? Who's going to be your speaker?
Is it possible for
Both of you?
say something?
Sure. Would
I'm
you
Peter
state,
Von Hofgarten with Pool and Spa Depot, the property owner.
okay, would you state your name and address, please, for the record?
Okay, it's Peter Von Hofgarten, 165 Stones River Road.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Jay Fulmer, 2002 Richard Jones Road, Nashville, Tennessee.
You raise your right hand, will you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. You heard the report. Do you have any comments you want to make?
Well, one of the, so with this being in a C2 district, like Bo was saying, it is allowed to be done under a special exception. And we just wanted to clarify a couple of the things on the site plan and make sure that everybody was fully aware with what we're proposing. Obviously Peter sells very large goods, and so it's hard to not have this size of a structure, and it does have a warehouse feel to it, but his intent is to provide a retail location in Laverne to sell these from, and also to have a big display area for the pools in the front. And so you can tell he replaced an old chain link fence with that one and cleaned up the old concrete dump, trying to make it just a much more attractive property because he's trying to sell living space to people. But there's a 50-foot buffer required when the special exception is granted. And so what we're trying to do is put a 10-foot wide concrete, essentially drive aisle, so he can get to the side of the building. And that would be within that 50 feet. The first 20 feet of the building facing the railroad is intended to be some sort of rack storage, which I know would require BOZA action. And we want to screen that from view from Stones River, but it's critical to his operation to have something of that nature. And so the property on the other side of the elevated railroad is also zoned industrial. Essentially, it changes to another commercial zone or to a similar zoning, but that's not till outside of our project footprint or project area. So we're hoping that all those things can be considered, to allow this use. And I don't know if it matters. We've got examples of another pool display area he has at another location, if you're interested in seeing it. And then this is also another view coming out of the area for the pictures that Bo was trying to show, just to paint a picture of the elevated railroad and the industrial use on the other side. But I do know that we would need to work with staff to make sure that we screen the view as you approach the railroad, basically that view, to make sure that we are, everybody's gonna be happy with the end result.
Okay. Any questions by the board members?
Just so on the buffering, what's your intentions? Obviously, you put some trees in there originally. What was some?
We still have, we do have landscape plantings in there, currently. And so, we want to make it as thick as possible to block the view, because he doesn't want to expose his back of house. He wants everybody to focus on the pool display that's going to be out there. And he's going to, I know that we don't submit elevations with the BOZA request, but he's got a lot of, what's the flagstone or that you're going to line the bottom of the building with. We're going to paint it to match the other buildings on the campus. We're trying not to have it be a warehouse, and we've really tried to find a way for it not to be considered a warehouse, but the reality is he's storing big goods. But some of his patrons we'll actually want to open the boxes and see what they're buying, because a little swatch is only so good. So, it's I'd say it's a distributive showroom, but we thought the appropriate thing, and Bo suggested, is just to come to Bozo and get approved for it.
What kind of materials have you constructed out of?
The materials currently are consistent with the prior building that we had just built 3 years ago, with a large emphasis on native flagstone from Crown Orchard right here. That's some samples. That would be laid flat up so high, and then James Hardy board above that, so that it would be consistent with the office space,
Oh, okay.
and also painted with the same color theme.
Yeah, these are the existing buildings and some of the existing stone material that we're going to replicate on the base of that one.
And that would be kind of the theme that's current, carried onto the new building, but would, rather than just a point on the corners here, it would come up further and wrap the whole part of the building.
And the vegetation would be more full than that.
I'm
The
sorry?
vegetation surrounding the warehouse would be more full than that.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty intense.
Yes.
In fact, when we built this last building, we weren't required to put any landscaping in at all, so that was put in on our own merit. We heavily landscape what we do because that's what we do for a living.
Well, you did a fine job on the existing building. It really looked quite nice. And personally, I was glad when you took away all that concrete. That was a mess.
The surface of the moon in the corner of the field there.
Any other questions by the board?
Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept as a request of special exception to allow the warehouse property located at 165 Stones Road as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the petition as presented. We'll take a vote now. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations. Continue to find work. The third item, the last item on agenda for tonight, is a request for sign variance property located at 342 Mason Road, Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Mason Road Holdings South Limited Liability Corporation. Mr. Logan, please.
Thank you. This is another request for a sign variance, and this property is located at 342 Mason Road, and this is Amazon. In case you're wondering, I think most of us know that, but this is the imagery that shows the site and the surrounding area, and this is Mason Road as it runs along toward the new Park 24 development, which is these large buildings that are off to the north here. The site plan for this was approved by the Planning Commission in February of this year. I looked that date up just this week, and I was shocked. I thought that it had been approved late in 2019, but it actually was approved in February of this year. So they've built this entire monstrosity in about 6 months flat. You can see here's some photos of the building that were taken this week. And then this is, I guess you would say, the rear or the north side of that building. So you can see a trailer there in the loading dock with the Amazon logo on it. So this building is 112,000 square feet. So it's a very large building. And this corner here is the main entrance, or the front door, you might say. And some of the signage that you see in the package will go in this area. They're also requesting some very large wall signage, and we'll get into that in just a moment. So, if you're wondering, it is zoned I-2. I skipped over that map, but this dark navy blue is I-2, so all of its neighbors are also I-2. So you'll see in the packet, some of the first signs are the actual wall signs. And they say various things. There's an Amazon hub sign that's lower on the building on this kind of architectural metal piece. And then higher up, there's an Amazon delivery sign that they're requesting. And then on the east elevation, which is at the top here, they're requesting another large Amazon wall sign. And then there's another hub sign, it appears. They have a lot of directional signage for their, they have a lot of vans operating out of here. If you've been over there, they have a really high number of vans operating, and then as well, they have the tractor trailers that are coming in, of course, with the larger shipments, as you see in the photo. So there's a lot of vehicles on the site and a lot of different traffic movements, and so there's, within their request, a lot of directional signage. And when we first started working on this in August, and I looked up the directional signage in the code, it limits a directional sign to 2 feet by 2 feet, which is 4 square feet. And obviously, I think some of these are in the realm of 30 to 35 square feet for directional signage. So not close to 4 feet, which is what our current ordinance says. So that was obviously one reason that they needed to request some type of variance with the BOZA. You can see here they have some signage for their employees with the associates entry sign, and then a customer service sign, lots of package signs. So then this is page 7, and you'll see up here at the top, this is a monument sign, which they're shown to be 8 feet tall. And of course, it's got Amazon delivery on the sign, and then the address 342 Mason. So that is also part of their package. And then they have these pylon signs that are part of their directional signage. And this is page 8. So they're calling this a 6-foot pylon sign. And you can see there's various instructions with directional arrows here. There's arrow for visitors, there's an arrow for delivery vans, there's an arrow for customer parking, which I haven't had a conversation about that, but I'm assuming that if you choose and you prefer, you could drive over there and pick up your items at the facility. So therefore, they're asking for customer signage as well. That's a summary of all the various signs they're asking for. And there has been a sign on the property, and staff has not received any phone calls.
Did you by chance have a discussion with the representatives of the companies and tell them how much they're asking and how strict the Laverne signage ordinances are? I mean, last month we had an individual come back for the 3rd consecutive month to get their signage approved.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we've had various emails back and forth with the sign company. I know that lady is Miss Singletary, but I don't see her here, so I guess she's not part of that.
Is there a representative here? Okay. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Jeff Konechny. I'm with Panatone Development Company. My address is 35 Music Square East, Nashville, Tennessee.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You heard the report I'd be interested in what the justification is for so many signs.
Well, it's pretty simple, the justification, as Bo alluded to, there's a lot of traffic, right? There's gonna be a lot of vans going back and forth, as well as employees and trucks, and so wayfinding and safety is critical to Amazon. It's mostly safety, so we have 3 access points on the property. Each of those access points need to have the same signage to tell drivers and customers where to go. So this package is the standard package for this building, which they call an AMZL, or Amazon Last Mile. It's certainly not a marketing situation, it's purely a safety item. And if you look at, there's really only building signage on the east side of the property. So just one side of the building has actual Amazon signage, the rest of it is just a plain building. So it's pretty important to Amazon to have that directional safety. One thing that I'll also point out is, Bo was right, we were in here in February for site plan approval, but previous to that, about 3 months before, this 30 acres was approved by Planning Commission to have 3 buildings, about 350,000 square feet. So just this one building is pretty small for this site. If we had built those 3 buildings, this signing package would be appropriate and applicable for this type of land. So really, it just goes back to a safety situation.
But
for
there's
everybody.
one building and one extended parking lot.
Yes. So we took 2 buildings out for the parking lot for this prototype that Amazon calls Amazon Last Mile, where they actually deliver the last mile goods. And so they need a lot of car parking.
And you have 2 signs up there now, and they're multi-directional signs.
There's a directional sign at each access point, so one sign at each access point, and there's lettering on either side of it. So I think that's pretty appropriate, so people know where they're going and where they need to go, whether they're leaving or entering the property.
Any questions by board members?
Mr. Chairman, as you're aware, and normally I'm really on top of these signs and the amount of signs. With this size building, I mean, the previous applicant, they were at 10,000 square feet. I mean, this is 112,000 square feet. So I think we must take that in consideration. In addition, with the majority of them being directional signs on their property for customers and/or employees, he mentioned the word safety, which I would agree with. So I understand this is a very large package, but I think with the size of the building that goes with it, the ratio is where it needs to be.
Okay. So you don't have any problem with with the signs at all?
Not at all, no.
Okay. It just seems to me that it is really extensive signage for the location. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll take a roll call vote. Elizabeth?
No.
Aye.
Mr. Goodwin?
No.
We have, let's see, 2 noes and 2 ayes. Puts me in the,
Sorry, that was just two
Two-
yeses?
2 yeses and 2 noes.
Okay.
I personally think that it's excessive, but I believe I'm going to vote yes, only because Mr. Graham here is a member of both this board and the Planning Commission, and I'll go by his expertise in this field. And so I'll vote aye for it, so it passes.
Thank you.
There being no further business brought before us, this meeting is now adjourned.